We may never be entirely ready to have our character defects removed, but we can strive for this ideal. How? By increasing our awareness of what we are doing and asking ourselves, is this enhancing my way of life or diminishing it? So, developing the best possible attitude we can for this journey. Well, what does that mean? This raises the question of what is the best possible attitude? And we're going to approach that question by looking at what attitudes we move away from and what attitudes we need to move towards. So what do we move away from in our life, and what do we want to move towards? So what we move away from is being someone we think we should be. This is the false self that you hear me talk about from time to time. That early on in our lives, because of our anxiety that we're not going to be loved and we're not going to be accepted, we're not going to belong, we conclude that if I can become who I think I should be, I will be okay. Everything will work out. My life will be just grand and fine. I'll be satisfied and content. So when we make that decision, which unfolds over a period of time, we now dedicate our lives to actualizing this concept of who we should be, the false self, rather than actualizing who we really are. So our energy goes towards being someone we're not. When we are the way we think we should be, we feel a certain kind of what I like to call false pride. God, I was great, man. I handled that situation in the exact way I think I should. If I do something I think I shouldn't do, then I feel shame. And I start hating myself, and I start to beat myself up to try to keep myself in line with my shoulds. This is why we say as soon as you try to become someone that you're not, your life becomes tyrannized by a set of shoulds. And you could get some idea of what that set of shoulds are if you stand back and you look at all the shoulds that govern your life. And you can do that by taking a piece of paper and at the top of it, and do these for different parts. So first of all, for yourself, I should be, and write down all the things that come to mind. Then you do it for relationships. My partner should be, or my friend should be, and write down all the shoulds that you have for them. God should be, do it for God. Life should be. Get in touch with all these things are, because the more you stoke your awareness, the more you cultivate and promote your awareness of what you're doing, the more change becomes possible, because change is paradoxical. We change when we own what we're doing, not when we try to become someone we're not. At the same time, step 6 and 7 is a pivot towards being who we actually are, towards authenticity, towards being committed to becoming, I need to really say it differently, on recovering our lost true self. That's the way I like to think about it. So now the quest comes with step 6 and 7 is pivoting towards the vision of developing, and this is the goal, a solid and flexible sense of self. A solid and flexible sense of self is the goal of emotional sobriety. That's how we create freedom. And in the future talks that I have, we'll talk a lot about what goes into developing that sense of self. But all of these things contribute to developing that kind of sense of self. Focusing on ourself, being concerned with ourself and getting what we need is not the problem. What we move away from is a belief that says I'm okay when we become out of balance, and that's and we don't belief that was started early on in our life. That life is supposed to be a certain way, and if life is that way, I will be fine. A corollary of this belief is I would have been okay if. If this didn't happen to me, I would have been okay. Which is another, false idea, false belief. I'm okay if, and if this didn't happen to me, I'd be okay if, says that our life depends on things being a certain way for us to be okay. And that belief I call the big lie, because it diminishes the role that we can play in our own lives in creating a much better existence. And that's what we move towards. We move towards a belief that says, I am okay even if. This is the belief that makes us curious about developing our best possible response to whatever challenges life sets before us. That's why we don't think of problems as really problems. Problems become problems based on the way we cope with them and the meaning we give to them. And so there's a whole way in emotional sobriety that trouble and problems really is another opportunity to take the next step in your growth and development. Such a refreshing shift of perspective. We move away from environmental support, looking for our environment to make us okay. Now, it's true that early on in life, we start with complete environmental support. When you were in your mother's womb and being taken care of, you depended 100% on her for everything that you needed to start your development and your growth in this world. Your mother provided you with the oxygen, the nutrients, the proteins, all the things that your body needed to grow. You got transportation. She was a 24-hour Uber. She provided security for you. The whole works. Everything was done for you. You had complete environmental support. The minute we are born, we take the first step towards our ability to support ourselves. And that first step is taken by learning to breathe. We take the first step towards self-support by taking the first breath. And when I inhale the oxygen from my environment, I now take over that role of providing the oxygen for myself rather than breathing through the umbilical cord that my mother had attached to me. What we move towards is self-support. That's the life force inside of us. I believe that that's God-given, that God wants us to become what we can be, to become holy. And I think of that as W-H-O-L-E, also H-O-L-E, or H-O-L-Y, if you think about it from a spiritual point of view. That's what's God-given to us, is that we have the ability to stand on our own 2 feet and be the determining force in our own lives, instead of being so controlled by all these forces that are being lived within us.